How do you build a business in a recession? Well, that's a $64 million question. You may actually be in a recession right now while you're watching this video, or maybe you just want to learn how to protect your business when a recession hits. Now, notice I said when a recession hits, not if a recession hits, because life is always played out in cycles and seasons, my friend. It's not about trying to barricade yourself in case winter's coming. Winter's coming. Spring always follows winter, but winter always follows after autumn. So it's the cycles and the seasons of life. Once we understand that, we take it for granted, we can not be surprised when it happens. It's like death. Don't be surprised when death happens, because it's inevitable. Same as the cycle and the seasons of life, the cycles and the seasons of business. So what do we find in the seasons of life? Pretty simple. The same we've found in the seasons of life for the last 5,000 years and for the next 5,000 years. It's predictable. Challenge and opportunity. But the people that make the most of the opportunities are those who prepare for the challenges. So let's have a look at how you do that now as it relates to business in a recession. Let's first start off. What is a business? A business is simply a vehicle with which to transact commerce with clients and customers, either business to business or business to consumer, which is kind of the old paradigm. I tend to prefer looking at it in this day as human to human. We're way past the old 80s business to business, business to consumer. But the primary commercial directive of a business is to make profit. In other words, nothing happens in business until something is sold. A business doesn't have the luxury, like a government, of actually printing more money when it runs out, which means the difference between a successful business and an unsuccessful business is not the products that you're selling. It's the resourcefulness of the business owner. That's it. Businesses go out of business for one reason. It's not the economy, it's not the interest rates, it's not the recession, it's the resourcefulness of the business owner that creates failure or success. Case closed. You will see businesses thriving in a downturn, an upturn, a static flat line. You'll see two restaurants on the same street selling the same kind of food to the same kind of market for the same kind of prices at the same kind of quality. One is thriving, one is empty. There's an X factor there. Let me share with you what that X factor is, because it'll allow you to get out of any recession or be recession-proof when it hits. So let me give you a clue. This is an old saying that goes, people will never remember what you tell them, but they will always remember how you make them feel. See, life is experienced through emotion. So if you as a business start looking at yourselves as the custodian of the customer's emotions, you have a far greater chance of understanding how to become recession-proof. If you go to a restaurant and you don't like it, you're going to tell a lot of people. In fact, you can't survive today in the age of TripAdvisor and online reviews with a business that doesn't make you feel great, because everybody's ready to tell somebody. But what if your customers became your best sales force? What if you would develop an army of raving fans? Does it take a lot? You'd be surprised. I'm going to share 3 examples with you, concrete, practical examples that I've used in my business to make my businesses recession-proof and ultimately outperform, outmarket, and outposition my competition before they knew what hit them. Now, the first thing I'll preface this with is this: never compete on price. If you're trying to compete on price, and if the recession comes, you just want to cut your prices, then you are only one undercut from going out of business or losing your competitive advantage. It's almost like going to Amazon. Most resellers on Amazon now are in a race to zero margin. That's pretty much what Amazon became, right? I want you to be allergic to zero margin, because what you're doing is you're not competing on price. I want you to compete on value. Again, I'll give you an example. So I ran a company that was involved in natural health, the Worldwide Health Corporation. And I couldn't compete with the budgets of the GNCs and the Holland & Barretts and the big boys of the world and the health spans that had multi-million-dollar advertising budgets and purchasing power that I couldn't step up to. But what I could compete on was, how do I make my customers feel? So I remember one example. We had a woman call in one time. She wasn't actually a customer. She called up and she said, "Oh, do you have any products for bruising?" And my staff were all trained not to sell products, but to find out, how can we serve the customer? How can we make these people our raving fans? And the lady asked, "Well, please tell me what it is that the issue is. You know, we want a story. People love to tell stories and talk about themselves, and especially their problems. And this old lady, bless her, she says that she'd taken a tumble down the stairs and she was all covered in bruising, and she was on several prescription medications. She didn't want to go to the doctors because if you gave her another pharmaceutical drug, it may contraindicate with something she said. So her friend was a client of ours. She recommended us, and she's calling up to find out if we do anything on bruising. Anyway, we recommended a product that we have, and we talked about it. And the old lady on the phone was a little bit hesitant. Yeah, it was a little pricey. Remember, we don't compete on price, we compete on value. And she says, oh, I'll think about it. So what the girl on the phone did, says, well, here's what I'll do. Let me send you a 7-day supply now on us, so at least you can see it works and it gets you out of pain and helps lower the bruising. And the woman was like, really? So yeah, of course. So took the address and hung up. Now, the reason the girl did that was not to send 7 days supply of tablets, or product, which doesn't cost a lot. It was to get her address. Why? We had a different agenda at stake. Because I taught my staff, and please listen carefully, it's a critical point. I taught my staff not to sell products, but to hunt for opportunities to impress. It's almost like having little, you remember the old Scooby-Doo ears, like little Scrappy-Doo, it's like having an antenna. It's like looking around. There's so much information and opportunity that if you look for it, you will find it. And if that's your intention, remember, questions are the steering wheel of the mind. How can I impress this customer? We'll start looking for opportunities. How can I make this person go wow? Hunt for the wow factor. And so when the phone went down, it bounced straight back up to Interflora. They ordered a bunch of flowers from Interflora, and they then went to a special drawer we had in the office where we had all different kinds of cards. In fact, we would ask the staff to look out for different cards that were special for every occasion, whether it was congratulations on getting married, retirement, moving house, your daughter's wedding anniversary, you passing of your driving test, whatever it was. If your hamster had a birthday, we had a card. So they went to the special card drawer and they pulled out a get well soon card. It got hand signed by everybody in the office, and we sent that along with the 7-day supply of tablets. Now, here's what happened. At that point, we let go. We don't turn around and say, well, this is a transaction, we do that, we want this. No, I'll get to that in a moment. The magic is in just doing what's right, not trying to engineer something because you want to get something. And the next day, the woman called us in tears, and I'll never forget what she said. She said she never expected or received flowers from her best friend, let alone a natural health company she'd never done business with. She went on to order about 3 different products, about $50, $60 a month for the next 12 months. She recommended us to so many friends, and when we did an audit at the end of that year, that 35-pound bunch of flowers, a little bit of staff time, a few tablets, paid us back somewhere in the region of about $3,000. Now, the challenge with most accountant brains that run most companies is that they say, well, if we pay out that, we want to see that coming back. No. See, here's the key. I didn't stand there at 5 o'clock the next day saying, that selfish bitch didn't call. No. You go and keep adding value. If you add value, it'll come back. It may not be from that client that time, it may be from somebody else that time. It doesn't matter. If you focus on how can I create a wow factor for my clients, you will never run out of customers or recommendations. Now, it doesn't have to be a bunch of flowers, just looking for little things. Another time I had a customer talk to one of my customer service staff, and they noticed that they were coughing on the phone a lot. And at the lunch break, this member of staff went out to the supermarket round the corner, spent about $1 on a tube of throat sweets, and sent it in a little jiffy bag to the customer with a simple handwritten note. Oh, I heard you were coughing on the phone. When I get a cough, I take these and they help me. I hope they help you too. What did that cost? Nothing. $1? They didn't even tell me about it till a week later. They weren't even asking it from me. That's the mentality of how I was training my staff. And of course, what would you do if you were the person that bent down that morning to pick up the mail, that little packet, opened and read that note? How would you feel? Would you go to a competitor because they were 10% cheaper? Are you kidding me? See, this is how you make a recession-proof business. Not by fancy marketing, not by trying to undercut your competitors, not by giving bells and whistles, but by making your customers go, wow, they actually care about me. One last example. I founded a chain of health clubs in the early 2000s called Energy, Health and Fitness. And I did that with a co-partner, which was Jan Spatikia, an incredible entrepreneur, dear friend of mine. And we couldn't compete with the 24-hour fitnesses, the Virgin Actives, the David Lloyds of the world, who again had millions of dollars to build out health clubs, to refit with bigger jacuzzis and all of that stuff, or run full-page adverts in Men's Health. There's no way we could compete with that. But what we could compete on was, how do we make our customers feel? So every single one of our clubs had a budget of £500 a month. And that budget would be in the safe, in cash. And every single member of staff would have the ability, without question, to request up to £50 solving guest problems and looking for that wow factor. Here's one example of many examples I could give, just so you get the idea. Gentleman comes into the health club one morning and he's on his cell phone and he's complaining to his friend, "Oh, I've just pulled up, I've got a flat tire, and don't worry, I'm gonna go have a workout and figure it out." The girl behind the counter is trained in what I'm teaching you right now. Sensory acuity high, she notices an opportunity to impress. He comes back from his workout about an hour later. As he's leaving, she says, "Oh, Mr. Smith, I couldn't help but overhear you talking about the fact you had a flat tire." He says, "Yeah, I know, I'm just gonna try and sort it out, figure out, I'll go change the wheel." He says, "Well, in all fairness, it's our parking lot and there's a nail in the tire, therefore it's our nail, therefore we took responsibility. So while you've been working out, I called in a mobile quick fit repair person. We've repaired the puncture. He's just washing the car for you right now. Should be ready in a couple of minutes." What do you think the one word that Mr. Smith is thinking right now going off inside his head? My next question, do you think he's gonna switch memberships to a club just because they've got a newer treadmill or a bigger jacuzzi? Are you kidding me? I mean, what did that cost? Under 50 bucks. As opposed to spending £3,000 to try to compete with a bigger advert in Men's Health. Guys, it doesn't take a lot. Learn how to impress by looking for the opportunities, and you will never have to worry about a recession in your business. I love you. I'll see you on another video soon. Guys, if you enjoyed that video, please hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification, give me a like, and leave a comment below to say, what are some of the ideas that triggered for you? How creative can you get on how you would inspire your customers? And allow me to continue to give these wow factors to you through the videos that I'm blessed to be able to share.